Well, I have been sitting here for a while, just looking at this box. It is an old cigar box. The wood is dark. The corners are worn soft. I keep it in the safe, bottom shelf. Nobody knows it is there. I am going to open it today. I do not know why today. I guess some things pick their own day. The box does not have a lock. It never needed one. The weight of it is enough. Not the physical weight, the other kind. The kind that sits in your chest. I lift the lid now. There is a folded piece of paper inside. It is yellow, almost brown at the edges. The fold lines are so deep they became tears. I have not unfolded it in 50 years, but I know every crease by heart. Let me take you back. Vietnam, 1969, A Shau Valley. Everything was green. A green so thick it almost had a sound, like the jungle itself was humming, low, constant. And the rain, God, the rain in that valley. Here rain happens to you. You get wet. You go inside. You dry off. There the rain was the world. It was the air, the ground, your skin. My boots were wet from the second week. They never dried, not once, for months. You stop noticing. The wet becomes your normal. It was a Tuesday, I think. I do not know why I think that. Maybe I need it to have been a specific day to make it real. We were moving through the tree line, slow, the way you move when something is wrong, but you cannot name it yet. Your stomach knows, your hands know. The rain was loud on the canopy above us, like static on a radio, like the world was trying to drown out what was coming. And then, he was just there. 1 second there was jungle. The next second there was a man. He was young. That is the first thing I saw. Before I even registered him as a threat. Maybe 19, maybe younger. A face that had not finished becoming yet. We saw each other at the exact same moment. I saw the recognition in his eyes. That split second where two people understand everything. I was faster, that is all. I was just faster. The sound of a rifle in a jungle is different. It does not echo like in the movies. It is more of a compression, like the air just got smaller for a second. And then it is over. Then there is silence. Not real silence. The rain was still there, but there is a silence underneath all of that. The silence of a thing that was alive, that is now not. I stood there for I do not know how long, and then I sat down, right there on the wet ground next to him. My legs made that decision without asking me. I had been out of cigarettes for 3 days. 3 days. In that place. That is a long time. They were not a habit. They were punctuation. The period at the end of a sentence that said, "You are still here." I looked at his shirt pocket. There was a pack. I reached over, and I took it. My lighter was wet. 4, 5 strikes before it caught, but I got it lit, and I smoked, right there next to him, in the rain, in the jungle, in the A Shau Valley, in 1969. The tobacco was different, stronger, earthier. It tasted like the ground smelled, dark and deep and a little bit bitter. I remember thinking it was a good cigarette. I remember being surprised by that I could still notice something like that in that moment. That is when I found the letter, his other breast pocket. I told myself for years it was training, maybe, I guess. But I do not think that is really why. I think I wanted something that told me who he was, something that made him specific. Because the alternative was that he was just a body, and I could not let him be just that. The paper was already wet at the edges. I put it in my inside pocket, against my chest, and then we kept moving. That is what you do. You keep moving. I got home in 1970, Youngstown, Ohio. My mother made a pot roast. My father shook my hand and did not know what else to do with his hands. My sister had grown 6 inches, everything trying so hard to be normal. I put the letter in the cigar box, and I told myself I would have it translated someday. Someday. You know how someday goes. I got a job. I married Margaret in 1972. We had 2 kids. I coached Little League for 11 years. I drove a Buick. I mowed the lawn on Saturdays. A whole life. A good life. I want to be clear about that. But the box moved with me. Every single move. I packed it myself. I kept it in the car, not in the moving truck, with me. Margaret knew about the box. She never asked what was in it. She understood that some things need to be carried in private. She passed in 2019, and about 6 months after she passed, I got the letter translated. I found a translator through a university, a Vietnamese woman, very kind. She called me about a week later. I was sitting right here at this table. It was November. The light was low and flat and a little bit sad. She said, "Mr. Miller, I have translated the letter." I said, "Okay." She said, "Are you ready?" I said I was. I was not. The letter was from his mother. Of course it was. She wrote about the rice harvest, how it had been a good year. She wrote about his younger brother, who had started an apprenticeship with a carpenter in the village. She wrote about a neighbor's wedding, the food, the paper lanterns, the sound of music from across the field. She wrote about small things, the way mothers write when they are trying to fill a letter with enough ordinary beauty to push the fear out. The translator paused before she read the last part. I noticed the pause, and I thought, here it comes. His mother wrote, "I pray every night for your safety. I pray that the men you encounter in the field are men of mercy." Men of mercy. She was praying that whoever her son ran into, whoever came out of that jungle, would have mercy in their heart. I sat at this table for a long time after that call. I thought about my own mother, sitting in this same part of Ohio, praying the same prayer, that whoever her son encountered over there would let him come home. Two mothers on opposite sides of the world, on opposite sides of a war that neither of their sons started, praying the same prayer. They were praying for the same mercy. And I was the answer to one of those prayers, and I failed. I know the arguments: survival, orders, kill or be killed. I know all of it. I have used all of it for decades. I am not saying I was wrong to survive. I am saying something different. I am saying that his mother asked the universe for one specific thing, for mercy. And I was the universe's answer to that prayer. And the answer was no. I keep the letter in the cigar box. On certain nights I get it out. I do not unfold it. I just hold it. The paper is so fragile now. It feels like it could dissolve if I breathed on it wrong. But I hold it, because I think holding it is the closest thing I have to an acknowledgement, to him, to her, that I know what she asked for, that her son was a specific person who had a mother, who grew rice, who had a younger brother learning to be a carpenter, that he was specific. The translator told me the Latin root of mercy, misericordia, a heart that feels the misery of another. I have been working on that for 50 years. I am still working on it. I do not know if I will finish before I am done, but I am still working on it. And I think that is maybe all a man can do. You hold the paper. You learn the name. You sit with what you did and what you could not do. And you keep working. That is all. That is everything.